were talking yesterday about it snowing, and Mr. King needs to shovel driveways because he apparently lost a lot of money on that Super Bowl game. I totally didn't expect us to have this kind of snow. I was thinking 2 inches.
It all comes full circle. I was able to make a lot of money this morning.
There we go. So if anybody needs their driveway shovel, Mr. King will come over and shovel your driveway.
I got you.
But yeah, I didn't expect to have enough snow for us to not come to school.
And then 7 inches. It's like,
yeah, I know. Like, that's crazy. And stupid NA, they don't even have school today. Like, they didn't even do a remote learning day. They just said no school for anybody today.
Really? Do you have to make it up then?
Well, they have built-in snow days. They have 4 days that are built into their schedule. So they don't even need to make it up, which is, I guess, why they decided to have it. I don't know. Yeah. My girls are like running around like crazy. They're so excited. I was not so excited because we don't have snow days. Like, because then we would have to make it up. And I don't know. I guess I'd rather be doing virtual than make it up from Easter. We only have a couple days off at Easter. So anyway, we're going to review today and tomorrow for your Chapter 4 test on Thursday. It is a long test. It's all of Chapter 4. The last time we had a chapter test was Chapter 1. So Chapter 2, we didn't do a full chapter. Actually, I lied. We did a chapter test for Chapter 3 too. But this is a big chapter. We've done 6 sections, which is a lot of concepts to cover. So between today and tomorrow, we are going to spend like just time practicing, working through problems with you from the review worksheet to prepare for the test on Thursday. Remember, anything that we do together in class, please make sure that you're doing the same thing at home on the worksheet so that you're working through the problems with us and then you have those problems done, less for you to do on your own. Friday of this week, because the test is so large, it might bump into Friday as well. There are a lot of problems on the test, so it might take some students a little bit of extra time to complete on Friday, which is fine. Friday will also be a makeup day for anybody that still is missing worksheets from Chapter 4. And then I do have an activity that we will do on Friday for anybody that might be totally caught up. I do have an activity for us to work on. So that's kind of thinking a little bit ahead. Tomorrow, we have no clue what's going on tomorrow yet. Group A might be in person, or we might be remote again. Please make sure you check your email today so that you understand what is going on tomorrow, because right now they don't know what they're going to do for tomorrow. They said they'd let us know at some point today. So please check your email and submit your virtual attendance. So Mr. King, I'm going to send it over to you. He's going to go over a few problems from the homework, and then we're going to dive right into that Chapter 4 review worksheet.
Sounds good. Make sure you ask questions. Yesterday we went over 5 and 6 together. I just want to do real quick 3 and 4. If we look at 3 here, Haley, is this going to be open up or open down?
Open up.
Good. And then Bill, is it greater than 1 or between 0 and 1? The constant out front.
Greater than 1, so it would be narrower.
My man.
Nice job, Bill.
And then if we look at 4, Anya, is it going to be open up or open down?
Up.
Up, and is it going to be narrow or wide?
Narrow.
If you look, it's between 0 and 1, so that's going to make
wide.
It wide. Yeah, so it's going to make it wider. Any questions about the first 6? So we did 4 of them together. All right, looking at the graph, is there any that you'd like me to do with you? I know that we did one of these together. I'd be more than happy to do more than that. Anyone you would like to look at? Why don't we look at 8 and 9, okay? If we look at 8, what are going to be my X and my Y values I'm going to put in here? Haley, what should I put in for my X values?
-2, -1, 0, 1, 2.
Yeah, we know that 0 is going to be 0. For -2, we just got to plug in. So we plug in -5 times absolute value of -2. That equals -5 times 2, which equals -10. If -2 is -10, then we also know that +2 is -10. And we do the same thing for 1. We plug in -5 times -1, which gives us -5 times +1, which equals -5. If -1 is -5 for your Y, then also +1 would be -5 for your Y. Once you have your 5 ordered pairs, we graph. So we know 0, 0, -2, -10, -1, -5, and then it's reflected across the y-axis. From there, you draw your graph. Any questions on number 8? So I'll leave that there for a quick second. Make sure you copy that down. Get our homework in. Next, if we look at 9, this is the fraction. So the numbers we choose are not going to be -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. How do we determine which numbers we're going to choose? Jason? How do we determine what X numbers values we're getting to use?
-3.
Okay, so how do we pick which ones we're going to do? I heard you say -3. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at our denominator, which is 3. And what you want to do is you want to pick out, basically count by the denominator. So we know the
Divisible
denominator.
by 3.
Yeah. So like 3, 6, 9, 12. These are the numbers you want to use. I suggest always using the first 2. The first 2 are the easiest ones. They're the smallest ones. So if we're going to use those numbers, we can go and plug it in. -6, -3, 0, 3, and 6. So I just want to make sure you guys have that figured out. So from here, we get 1/3 times absolute value -6, which equals 1/3 times +6, which equals 2. If -6 equals 2, then +6 equals 2. We do the same thing with -3. The absolute value of -3 is +3. 1/3 of 3 is 1. If -3 is 1, then +3 is 1. And then we always know 0 is 0. So now we have our 5 ordered pairs. Looking at the equation, we know that it's going to open up and it's going to be wide. So we double check that. We get our points. We draw a graph. Oh, that's a bad line. So those are the 2 we did today. Any questions on the homework? At the bottom, how do we do with the bottom there? That's kind of review where you plug in the 2 numbers. Are we okay on those? Okay, so I'm going to send it back to Miss Kane. We're going to do a review today. It's a 2-day review to get you ready for your test on Thursday. Please, 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 please ask questions. We're going to have a lot of independent time today. Both of us will be here. If you want to do a private breakout room, there'll be time to get one-on-one help today.
If you go to Google Classroom, the review worksheet just posted, so head over to Google Classroom. It's the Chapter 4 review worksheet, and again, it just posted for you. So open that up, send it to Notability. Or if you don't use Notability, send it to whatever app you use, or maybe you just edit it within the Google Classroom app, and that's fine as well. But it is right here for us to work on. And today, so this is a 2-day assignment. Today is 1 through 10. Tomorrow is 11 to 14, or as much as you can get done from 1 to 10. Whatever you don't finish today, you got to work on tomorrow. But 2-day assignment, so you don't have to post anything until Thursday. This is due on Thursday. And I'm going to go through a few questions with you. There it comes. It's a little slow. Can anybody say, yes, I found it? Give me a thumbs up. Use the thumbs up feature. You're good to go. Have the worksheet ready. Awesome. Thank you, Bill. Excellent. Good. Okay, perfect. Excellent. Thank you. So we're going to work on a couple of questions together. Again, if you work on this with us, then you're going to have some of the problems already done for you. The first 6 problems want you to solve the inequality and graph the solution. And I thought we would go over 4 and 6 as a review of the and versus the or problem. So that's where we're going to start. We'll start with number 4. Number 4 is an and problem. And the reason you can kind of see that it's an and problem is because 2x plus 3 is in the middle. Or would be 2 separate inequalities. So and is in the middle here. Bill, what would you do to try and get the x by itself? What would you first do to try and get x by itself?
-3 from both sides.
Awesome. So -3. And you're doing that with both sides of the inequality. So the middle 3 cancels. The left becomes -6. The right becomes 4. So make sure you do everything. And then, Bill, what would you do?
Divide everything by 2.
Awesome. Nice job. So everything gets divided by 2. So the middle 2 cancels. And then we have a -3 less than x less than 2. So this is our and problem. X is between -3 and 2. That's how I would read that. Now we have to label our number line. Well, -2 and 3, or I'm sorry, -3 and 2 are really close together. So we probably can just start at -5 and place some numbers on the number line. Don't have to worry about like counting by 2 because those numbers are really close together. So Haley, when I graph a point at -3, is it going to be open or closed?
Open.
And what about at 2?
Open.
Excellent. And then because it's and means in between. X is in between -3 and 2. So my answer is in between. And that's what you do for an and problem. So we're going to do an or one together as well, just so you can see the 2 different types of problems. That's a little refresher. Or is 2 separate inequalities. You're going to solve them each individually. So Jason, the first one on the left here, 2x plus 3 is less than or equal to 1. What would you do first to get x by itself, Jason?
Subtract 3 from both sides.
Good. And then what do you do after you subtract 3, Jason?
Divide 2 from both sides.
Excellent. Nice job. So x less than or equal to -1. Now, the next one is totally different. 3x minus 2 is greater than 7. So Anya, what would you do first to get x by itself in the one on the right side?
Add 2 to both sides.
And then what would you do next, Anya?
Divide by 3.
Perfect. And then this says x is less than 3. Questions? All right. So again, label your number line. These numbers are pretty close together, so I can still use that standard -5, -4, -3, and so on. Oh, I flipped my sign. This is my fault right here. I'm sorry. I apologize. I inadvertently flipped that sign. That's my fault. It should be x is greater than 3. So at -1, it says less than or equal to. So I'm placing a point. Look at the tip of the arrow. It's pointing to the left. I'm going to the outside or to the left of -1. The second one says x is greater than 3. Greater than is open. Greater than, the tip of the arrow is pointing to the right. So I'm shading to the right. So you can see the difference between the two problems. We have an in-between answer because it's and. We have an outside answer because it's or. Are there questions on 4 or 6? So 1, 2, 3, and 5 are very similar to 4 and 6. And you can see 3 and 5 are identical to 4 and 6. Numbers 1 and 2 are just single inequalities. So you're either going to shade on the left side or the right side. So the next group of problems for 7 and 8 is where we check to see if it's a solution. And you do have to make sure you're answering like with a yes or a no. So tell whether the ordered pair is a solution. Well, I should say yes or no to tell if it's a solution or not. The ordered pair is -1, -4. And we'll do A. So you're going to plug in x and plug in y. So x is -1, y is -4, and then less than 4. So this becomes a big plus sign because a negative and a negative make a positive. So Bill, -1 plus 4 is?
3.
And is 3 less than 4?
Yes.
Yeah, so it is. That means it is a solution. So that's all you have to do for part B. And then for number 8, it's the same exact process, but you're using a different set of equations here. Nope, ordered pairs, I'm sorry. Different set of ordered pairs. So you're going to plug in the ordered pair for B, and then for part 8, you're going to plug in that other set of ordered pairs. Are there questions on deciding if it's a solution? So plug it in, plug it in. Yes or no? Make sure you're answering a yes or a no at the end. All right, so we're kind of just working through the sections. This question 9 is section 4.2, and it wants us to graph the inequality on the coordinate plane. A coordinate plane is just a graph. It's a fancy way of saying place it on a graph. I thought of the 6. I thought we could look at C, and then maybe we'll go underneath and look at E. In order to graph, we need to have y equals mx plus b form, which means we have to get y by itself. So Haley, what would you do first to get y by itself in part C here?
Subtract 2x.
Nice. So it's still a -y, greater than or equal to. X's cancel. And then we have plus 3. Now there's still a negative in front of that y, which means y isn't by itself quite yet, because really that negative is with a -1. So we have to divide each thing by -1. So that our y is by itself. On the other side, -2 divided by -1 is +2. 3 divided by -1 is -3. What do you have to do with the sign when you divide by a negative? Anybody remember?
Flip it.
Nice. Good job, Emma. Flip that sign. So this sign now is less than or equal to. So our inequality says y is less than or equal to 2x minus 3. So slope is 2, b is minus 3. So we're going to graph this now. We're going to begin down at 3, -3. So begin with -3. The slope, we're moving up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. Or I could go down 2, backwards 1. The next thing I need to look at, that inequality, we now flipped it. And it says less than or equal to. Equal to means solid line. So connect your points with a solid line. And then finally, we have to decide how to shade. This says less than. Less than is below. And if you need to remind yourself, write yourself a little note. Greater than is above. So I need to go to any point on that line, and I'm going to use my highlighter. I'm going less than any point on that line. And once I find that location, I kind of just trace it all in. And if you're using the iPad, use the highlighter part of it. Whether you're using Notability or you're using the Google Classroom app, you can definitely use that highlighter. But all of these problems should be shaded from 1 through 6. That's what makes it an inequality. So I thought we would look at E as well. Are there questions on C before we go to E? Okay, so then if we look at letter E, this just has an X, and letter F just has a Y. So we need to just get the X by itself by dividing by 2. Remember, here's my X-axis. Up at the top, there's the Y-axis. So this is saying X is greater than -3. So on my X-axis, I'm going to go over to where it is -3 and place a point. So X is greater than -3. I have to start at -3. Bill, when I make this line, is it going to be a vertical line or a horizontal line to go through X being -3?
Vertical.
Awesome. And is it going to be solid or dashed, Bill?
Dashed.
Nice job. So dashed vertical line. Think that it has to go through that -3 number. And then its X is greater than -3. So the numbers where X is bigger than -3 are on the right side of the graph because that's where the numbers are positive. So we need to shade the entire right side of the graph. This is the only time where we shade left or right instead of up or down. So it's a vertical line when you have X. For letter F, you're going to have Y. That's going to be a horizontal line when you just have Y. So I'm going to do one more problem with you. And why don't we do letter D here? The last group of problems that we're going to talk about today. So The problems we're going over today are from the first half of the chapter, sections 4.1 to 4.3. You took a quiz on this first half of the chapter, not last week, but the week prior, that Friday. So this is the first half of the chapter up to number 10. So this is section 4.3. And we can look at letter D, the last one here. This is a system of inequalities. So this is where we're going to do a couple of different shadings. So I will make my first one blue. Maybe we'll go with purple. I don't know. Blue and purple might be too close together. Let's go with green. And then we'll do orange, yellowish. So the first one is exactly like the problem we just did. It says X. So I'm going to go to my blue and on the X axis over to positive 2. Just like Bill said, dashed line because it says less than. It's a vertical line because it's X. So X is a vertical line. And then with my blue, now it's less than. Well, the less than numbers are on the left. Less than is left. So all of the values on the left. So now I have one line done. I'm going to move to the green line. This one is y equals mx plus b form. The slope is 1 and the y-intercept is 5. So I'm going to go up to 5, place a point, and then the slope is up 1 over 1. I'm going to make a couple of points here, going all the way down. Anya, would I connect those points with a solid or a dashed line if it says less than?
A dashed.
Yeah, you're right. Perfect. Dashed line. So less than is a dashed line because it doesn't say equal to. So now I'm picking my green shading. Less than is below. So any point on that line, I need to go below the point on that line. And then I'm going to make sure I go below all of the line. So trace the whole line and go below it. So now I have 2 done. And from what we talked about before, if I look at the overlapping area of those 2, it's the bottom left region. So I have to graph one more line and it's going to be in that bottom left region because that's where my 2 are overlapping right now. The 2 inequalities that we just graphed. So to graph the last one, we need to solve because X is on the left with the Y. So I have to take X to the right. And then we have to divide by 2. So I have -1/2 X and then -1. And we're going to do this one in yellow. So these are a little trickier. They're a little bit of work because you have to graph 3 lines. So my slope is -1/2. The y-intercept is -1. So going down to -1 and then down 1, right 2. Or up 1, backwards 2. Do enough so that you can get those lines to cross. Haley, will this be a solid or a dashed line if it says y is greater than?
Dash.
And then if it's greater than, are we going to shade above the dashed line or below the dashed line?
Above.
Above, nice. So go to a point and go above that line. and above the entire line. So everything is shaded at this point. But we said the answer had to be here. That's what we said after graphing 2. And now I can see that my answer has to be in this little triangle area. All right, so there is still time remaining in class. And we did about 6 or 7 problems together. It might even be more than that. 2, 3, it looks like 6. 6 problems together. I'll pull this one back up so you can kind of look at it if you're still working on it. If you want to remain on and ask questions, you can definitely do so. Mr. King and I are here and we can continue working on different problems. So if you want to look and say,